Hello all, welcome to another session in this course. This session is a continuation of the previous session, that is part 12 of HTML basics. Now in this session, I am going to take the part 13. As part of this part 13 of this HTML basics, the first topic that I am going to cover in this session is ID attribute followed by others. So let me explain about this ID attribute first. In HTML, there's an attribute known as ID attribute. So when you check the HTML code of any particular page, why the developer would have used this ID attribute for elements in the HTML page? There will be reasons, guys. Okay. Generally, guys, ID stands for uniqueness. Okay. If something need to be unique, ID stands for uniqueness, guys. Just let's discuss about the real world thing where something need to be unique. For example, you joined a company, XYZ company. Okay. You joined an XYZ company. The company will allocate one ID number. ID to you. Okay, employee ID will be given to you, right? This is one example. Why the company is giving an employee ID? Because with your same name, lot of other employees can be there in the same company. For example, my name is Arun. If I have joined this XYZ company, before I joined, there may be other Aruns, or after I joined, there will be other Arun coming here with the same name as mine. And company will not be able to or won't be able to uniquely identify your name. Okay, because a lot of Aruns are there in the same company, working in the same company. Then how the companies can overcome this problem is that they will allocate you some employee ID. For you, they allocated one employee ID. For other Aruns working in the same company or going to work in the same company, some other employee IDs will be given to them so that you will be uniquely identified in their company. The same concept is applied for this HTML, guys, the elements in the HTML. If due to some XYZ reasons, a particular element, okay, a particular element in the HTML code of the page need to be uniquely identified by the developers, etc. Developers will provide this ID attribute. You see, in the last session, I have taken this example where I have utilized, HTML, CSS, JavaScript, all the things together, right? So in this example also, for the paragraph, we have used ID is equal to para. Okay. In the paragraph, there can be any number of paragraphs. There can be any number of paragraphs, guys. But here, the paragraph which is having the ID as para is something unique. Compared to other paragraphs, this is unique. Okay, if I don't provide the ID and if I have multiple paragraphs in the same HTML code, can we uniquely identify this paragraph just by using the tag name? No. If we use ID, then we can uniquely identify it. Here, JavaScript code is accessing this paragraph with the help of this ID. What if I have created another paragraph here, but it doesn't have an ID? Assume that this is a situation. The color of the, otherwise, this is another sample text 2 I'll write. Sample text 2. This is one paragraph, this is another paragraph. Now, if I save this and open this in the browser, let me open this in the browser. It is at this location, C users Aronium downloads. Okay, let me open the browser and browse that location, C users Aronium downloads 3.html. You see, there are two paragraphs. This is one paragraph, this is another paragraph. When I click on green, you see, only this paragraph text should change, not the other one, right? Because it has an ID, guys. Okay, if I remove this ID, now save this, will it work? No, you see, both the paragraphs, you see, nothing is working because here we are using an ID. Okay, we are using an ID. There are multiple paragraphs. Okay, there are multiple paragraphs in the same HTML code, but only this paragraph text, only this particular paragraph text need to change the color on clicking on the respective buttons. In that case, what we have to, we have to, the developer need to give an ID for this paragraph so that this paragraph can be uniquely identified when compared with other paragraph. There are a lot of paragraphs in the same HTML page, but this paragraph which is having the ID, okay, like this. You can give any number like P1 or whatever that you can give, whatever the ID you give, you just gave it here. Now this JavaScript code, which is written by the developer, is accessing this paragraph, having the ID as para1, and it's changing the color here in this example. Okay, this is one of the example, guys, where a lot of paragraphs are there, but the developer want to uniquely identify this particular paragraph so that the changes happening here will be applicable for this paragraph, not the other paragraphs. Just go here and refresh. Now you see three paragraphs are there, but if I click on green, you see only the paragraph which is having the ID as P1, the color is changing, but remaining paragraphs, it's not changing. So this kind of situations will come where, in real time when you create the web pages, when I click on this button, not all the three paragraphs color should not change, only this paragraph color need to change. Means what the developer will do, developer will write this kind of JavaScript function or something and will write the code which will be accessing the paragraph which is having the ID as para1 with the help of this ID uniquely, because no other paragraphs will have the same ID. ID stands for uniqueness, right? So no other paragraphs will have the same ID. So the changes are applicable for only this paragraph. This is one of the example, guys, where the ID will come into picture. ID attribute is for uniqueness. And whatever the example I have given in the yesterday session, the same example I have taken here to showcase how the ID will be helpful to you. Okay, the same thing, guys. Now, if you are good with the ID attribute, guys, let's go with the other attribute. That is, the other attribute here we have is a name attribute, guys. These are the important attributes, guys, that we have in HTML. Whenever you are working in HTML, right, often you will come across this ID attribute, often you will come across this name attribute being used. Okay. So the next attribute that we have to learn here is name attribute, guys. Why the developers? You see here, developers were using this ID attribute for different elements on the web page to uniquely identify the elements out of all the different elements in the HTML page. But here, why the developers have to use the name attribute, that I'm going to cover right now. Okay. I'm going to tell the reasons why the developers have to use name attribute. There are several reasons for the name attribute, guys, not just one reason. One of the reasons for the developers using this name attribute here is name is for grouping. If you want to group radio buttons or checkbox fields, okay? If you have to group this radio buttons or checkbox fields, we have to use the name attribute. Name is for grouping the radio buttons or checkbox fields. I have already given this demonstration in one of the previous sessions, guys, okay? Okay, so let me show you what is, okay, so let me take this example again, copy this and create a new file. I'll just name this file save as, I'll just name this as 5, okay, dot HTML. Save this file here first of all. So in this code, guys, I'll just remove all this stuff. My purpose is to explain the name attribute here. I'll remove all this code. Guys. In the body tags, I'm going to create radio buttons, guys. How to create a radio button? I already covered this in the previous sessions. Input type is equal to radio, and here slash input. I need to give the label of the radio button. I'll just give the option as, you know, I'll just give something like, car. The next one I would like to take is input type radio, bus, bike, train. So like this, multiple radio buttons are there here, guys. For example, multiple radio buttons are there here. If I save this and go to the page and open this file here, I just go open this file 5.html. You see all the 4 radio buttons came here. But I need to select only one of them. The actual functionality of the radio buttons is you should be able to select one of them. But here I am able to select all the radio buttons. Why? Because while creating this HTML elements like radio buttons here, you have not grouped them into a single category. All these radio buttons should belong to a single category. How can you group all these radio buttons so that one of the radio buttons you can select at a time, not all the ones? Further, guys, we can use here name to group all these radio buttons, just informing the HTML page or browser to understand that all these radio buttons are falling into a single section, okay, single thing, okay, are part of the same thing. Then name, vehicle or something you give. The same name you give it for bus, the same name you give it for bike, the same name you give for train. Now save this. The same name you have given for car, the same name you have given for bus, the same name you have given for bike, and the same name you have given for train. In this case, what will happen? Now these 4 radio buttons are grouped together into a single entity. Now if you refresh here, this time you try to select multiple options in the radio buttons. You see, at a time only one can be selected. Select train, other 3 are not selected. If you select bus, other 3 are not selected. If I select car, you see, only at a time, only one radio button can be selected. This is possible with the help of the name attribute. This is one of the reasons why we have to use name attribute in Okay, why the developers will generally use name attribute to group the radio buttons or checkbox fields. Developers generally use name attribute. This is one of the use of the name attribute. The second use of the name attribute here is the second another lot of things are there here, guys. One of them is name for grouping. Already gave the example just now. Okay, it has many purposes. And second thing is second thing is name attribute can also come into picture. In the case of forms. Okay, the case of forms, guys. Okay. So many more uses are there that I'm going to cover right now. So let's say you go to an application, guys. Let me take you to one application here, a real application. And in this, if you click on this register, there are a lot of fields here, right? First name field, last name field, email, telephone, password confirm. Okay, privacy policy. Many fields are there here. This many fields are there. So I can enter the data into these fields. To create an account, I need to enter the data into the fields, right? Like this, I'll enter the data into the fields. I'm giving some email address and all those stuff. Here I'm giving some telephone number. Okay, I'm just trying to explain another advantage of using another purpose or reason why why the developers generally use or provide name attribute in the HTML code is something I'm going to cover in this session, guys. Okay, so one of the reasons for using the name attribute is to group the radio buttons. You see, these two radio buttons are there. Yes, I know. At a time, only one should be selected. At a time, only one should be selected. This is all possible because these two radio buttons may have the same. If you inspect this, guys, in the HTML code, you can clearly see. Okay, this is the S radio button. What is the name? Name is equal newsletter. The other one, no newsletter. No newsletter. This is also having the same name. You see, name is equal newsletter. Name is equal same name is there. Why the developer have used the same name to group these radio buttons? At a time, only one option should be selected, but that grouping is required. That is one of the reasons. Other reasons why the developers have to use a name attribute is in this kind of HTML forms, guys. In this kind of HTML forms like register account page, whatever that you are seeing on the screen is nothing but HTML form. If I inspect this and just let me select this, and if I inspect this, guys, if I inspect this and go to the HTML code here, if you go here, you see all this first name field, last name field, email field, whatever the data I'm entering into these different fields like first name, last name, email, telephone, password confirm. Okay, all these are part of a form. You see, this highlighted area is a part of a form. Just observe here, guys. Okay, all these items are a part of a form. If I hover the mouse, you see, whatever that is getting selected on the UI is nothing but they are under this form. This is the highlighted area. From here to almost here. Okay, including this radio button. So everything is part of a form. Now, when I click on the continue button after filling these details, where this data will be sent, this is my client machine, my laptop. Okay, this is my client machine, that is a laptop. Okay, which I'm just sitting before my laptop, and in the browser I'm opening this application page URL, and in this there is a form. I'm filling the data. Now in my laptop I'm entering the data here. So my laptop will become a client. Okay, my laptop or this particular browser where you are entering the data or the pay will become the client. The moment you click on the continue button, this data will be sent to the server. Okay, in real time what will happen, guys? This is your laptop. Okay, and this is the server. Somewhere the server is there, maybe in I'm in India. I'm in I'm in India, guys. Okay, I'm in India. Okay, I opened the my laptop. Okay, I opened the laptop. In that, I opened the browser. In that, I opened a page like register account page. Okay, in that I filled all the forms. Okay, some data I have entered here into the form fields. The moment I clicked on the continue button, what will happen? A request will be sent to the server. Okay, a request will be sent to the server over the internet. A request will be sent to the server over what? Internet. Via internet. Because your computer machine is in India, from where you are filling the data, and the server machine of this application that you are entering the data into is in Singapore, let's say. Okay, is in Singapore. Okay. Now, the moment you hit the continue button here, request will be sent to the server, and along with this request, all this data will be sent. This first name, last name, okay, this email address, telephone number, password, everything will be sent to all this data along with this request will travel over the internet and will reach the server. Now, the server is in a confusion. So how to intake this data? What is this? Server doesn't know. It cannot see your web page on the client machine, right? Server doesn't know this is first name. Server doesn't know this is last name. Server doesn't know this is email address. Server doesn't know it is a telephone number. Server doesn't know it is password, confirm password. Doesn't know. So that's the reason, guys. What the developers will do is, from the client side, when you inspect this, one of the field here, you see, for this first name field, developers have provided a attribute known as name attribute with some value known as first name value. Similarly, if you inspect the last name field, developers have provided one name attribute value known as last name. Similarly, for email field in this HTML form, name email is given by the developer. Inspect this. Telephone field, name is equal telephone is given. Inspect this. Name is equal to password is given. Inspect this. Name is equal to confirm is given. Inspect this S radio button. Here, name is equal to newsletter is given. Inspect this. Here also name is equal to newsletter, but value is equal to 0. So along with this data, which is being sent to the server, the name attribute data also will be sent to the server. Okay. Along with this data, accompanying this data, whatever the developer have written the name attribute value, right? Along with data as a pair, this actual data and the name attribute in the form of the HTML will be sent along with that, so that by the time this data reaches a server, now server can easily map that, okay, this is first name because it has a name attribute as first name. Like that, server can clarify its confusion and will create the account on the application in a proper way by running the code in the server side. Okay, if it becomes complex, you are not able to understand, don't worry guys, I'm just giving you another reason why. Okay, another reason why, name attribute is provided for a lot of fields in the, this is what is the important thing is, developers generally, when creating a form, HTML form like this, having a lot of fields, right? And this data need to be sent to the server when I click on the continue button. All these form fields will have the name attribute, guys, so that server, while the data reaches the server machine, this data will be mapped properly with the name attribute value, and server can understand which data is first name, which data is last name at the server side, and properly the account will be created. Okay, and then only the account will be created like this. The another reason why developers use name attribute with the name attribute in HTML. One is for grouping the radio buttons or checkbox fields. Another is for, forms like that. Multiple things are there. These are the major ones, guys. These are the major reasons why the developers use name attribute in HTML code. So I cannot explain all the all the different reasons why name attribute will be used. But developers generally use name attribute for several reasons. These are the major two reasons I covered in this session. Go to any other form, guys. Go to any other form on any page. Okay, even go to this login. Here also, this is a form, guys. This is a form. If you inspect this, you will understand clearly. Form tag is there. Okay, this is nothing but the form. This email address, password, and login button are part of the form. Now, when you enter the credentials, click on the login button. This email address and password will be sent over the internet to the server machine, which is somewhere else. And the server machine will understand this data is email address using that name attribute given to this email address here. You see, name is equal to email is there. Okay, this password data sent by password field will be mapped with this name attribute while sending it to server over the internet, and that is a benefit of the name attribute, guys. Hope you understood the benefit of the name attribute and why developers generally use name attribute while creating the HTML code for different elements and all. Now the third thing that you need to understand is another attribute is there, guys. Apart from this ID and name, we have one more attribute known as class attribute. Class attribute. What is the purpose of this class attribute? Using class attribute, guys, developers, okay, map the UI elements with the CSS styling. This is what happens, guys, generally. Okay, let me give an example for what I'm talking here. For example, if I go here to this application, just check the background color of this button. What is the background color of this button? Black color, right? Inspect this button. Just look into the HTML code of this button. Just look into the HTML code of this button. You see, this particular button has a class provided. Class is equal to, this is the value of the, here multiple classes are there. Okay, btn is one class, btn inverse is another class. If there is some gap, means there are multiple classes in this class attribute value. Okay, not a single class. btn is one class, btn inverse is another class, btn block is another class, btn lg is another class, drop down toggle is another class. Multiple classes are there here. Okay, here we have multiple classes, guys. Here we have multiple classes, right? So, but why the developers are actually providing this class attribute and giving the multiple classes here as attribute values? These classes will point to the external CSS files. You see, under the styles tab, you can see btn. btn means this HTML code is referring to this btn class here. This is a btn class. Under the btn class, some styling is mentioned, you see. So let me inspect this again. under this btn class, font size 12. Okay, if I change the font size as 22, just see here font size got increased. Again, I change it back to 12. All the CSS stylings are applied by this with the help of this class attribute, guys. Class attribute will point the HTML code to the appropriate CSS stylings which are there in the style sheet. CSS style sheets. Okay, dot CSS style sheet dot CSS. I covered all the CSS things for you, right? The stylings. You see, white color text is there. If you want to change the color of the text will change here. Okay. So CSS is actually connecting the HTML code with the CSS file. Okay. This class or multiple classes in this written in this HTML code is connecting this particular UI element in the HTML code with the appropriate CSS stylings in the .css external file. Okay. Now, okay, every element will have the same class? No. If I inspect this ash color button, it has a different class. You see, this has a different class. Now, what if guys, you see, before I do any changes here, you can clearly see this particular button background color is white and the text on the particular button is in white color. But whereas this particular button, it has a different combination, guys. Black and gray and dark gray kind of combination is there on this button. What if I want to get the same styling, CSS styling of this button to this button? What I will do here is I'll right click inspect this black color button and I'll copy this entire class. Copy this entire class as it is. Okay, Control C. Okay, I'm not able to right click here, but I'll just Control C. And then I'll inspect this button. And here, when I inspect the button, guys, when I inspect this particular button, it is locating this HTML code. Now I'll remove this class and paste the class attribute value of this button to this button here in the HTML code. Once I do that, you see the color combination option of this particular button is applied to this button now. Because this HTML code with help of this class is pointing to this CSS file properties, styling properties. Okay. So this is what is a class purpose. This is what is a class. These changes are temporary, guys. If I refresh the page, it will be gone. Just for experimentation purpose, you can see and how this. You see here on the top, guys. If you see a lot of options here, like telephone number, my account, wish list, shopping cart, and you see they look very similar, right? They look similar because for every element here, the same class has been used by the developer. Okay. Inspect this my account. In the HTML code, you see the class hidden access, hidden SM, hidden MD. If I inspect this wish list, hidden access, hidden SM, same class attribute values there. Inspect again, hidden access, hidden SM, same class is there. Inspect this checkout, hidden access, hidden SM, hidden MD. Because of which they are looking similar guys. Okay, the developer want to apply the same CSS styling to all these elements. Then the same class attribute value developer will provide in the HTML code for all these elements, because this class attribute value will point to the respective stylings in the CSS file. So hope guys you understood, what is the purpose of why the developers generally use ID attribute in the HTML code, why the developers will use a name attribute in the HTML code, why the developers generally use a class attribute in the HTML code. So these are the reasons. So we are done with this session, guys. Hope you got some clarity about the ID attribute, name attribute, class attribute, which are commonly seen when you explore the HTML code, right? You generally commonly see these different attributes in the HTML code, and we should have the idea of what is the purpose, why we need them and all. Okay. So for future sessions and all, we need to have this knowledge. That's it, guys. That's it about the part 13 of this HTML basics. In the next session, I'm going to cover the remaining part. As part of the part 14, I'm going to cover div, div container, div tag, and span tag. Okay, what is the purpose of div tag and span tag, which is also important, guys, because when you check the HTML code, most of the cases you will see div and span tag than any other tag names used in the HTML. These are the mostly visible HTML tags written by the developer whenever developer builds a HTML page. Why it is like that, I'll cover in the next session. That is as part of the part 14 of this HTML basics. That is the next session I'm going to cover these topics. So that's all for this session. See you in the next session. Thank you. Bye bye.